Copy Gang, Burgers and Fries. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 things we want to see from the second set of Elestrals. The first set of Elestrals offers a lot of great gameplay, but there have been noticeably a lot of balance issues and a lot of further development into different design spaces that are available. And then there's also just the monster genre. What do you want to see? Um, so I guess we can go ahead and start. Matt, do you want to start with your first one, or do you want me to go ahead and start with the first one?
Are we starting from like most wanted to least most wanted, or what are we doing?
No, you got to start with the least most wanted. That's how a top 10 work, because you got to build that
Alrighty.
anticipation.
Yeah. So the 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 first thing that I'm looking forward to is player sponsorships.
Player
Um,
sponsorships.
and what I mean by that is I would want for the game creators to sponsor certain players to do card reviews. So whether that would be just shipping that specific card to them, that way they could create content around that card, or however you would do it, or if they're just making a video and Elestrals is sponsoring it. I feel like that would bring more attention to the game. Along the lines of something like Raid Shadow Legends, like everyone knows what that game is. Even people that have not played it, they know what it
Okay,
is.
I know what Raid Shadow Legend look like, and I know that it's a mobile game. I've never looked into it enough to know anything past that though.
Yeah, I've played it, and it's not a very good game. Like the gameplay isn't very good, but this isn't. This
But the
isn't.
marketing is definitely is next level. Like everybody does know what it
Oh
is.
yeah.
What would you
This
say?
isn't a
What
raid
would you
video
say
though.
would be like the most tangible step to move toward more player sponsorships? Would be
I talked to you about this yesterday. Uh, all you really have to do is you got to start reaching out to bigger names, and this would happen, of course, if you believe in your product. Like if you know you have a good product, you're gonna reach out to people with bigger names. You're gonna ask them to make videos over your games, and that would come in the form of a sponsorship. Um, or people who already play Elestrals. Whenever Set 2 gets released, again, people are going to be trying to pull cards like crazy. So what you do is you sponsor that player, um, negotiate a price point with them, how much you're going to, uh, you know, how much money you're going to give them to cover the game, and then you send them a card to build a deck around. And you could do this in multiple players and then have them play against each other.
yeah. And that I hadn't heard you say that specific part before, but that does sound interesting. And something that we
Yeah.
talked about yesterday that I think is really important with that conversation is faith in the product. And that's why I think now they're doing the Elestriad, now that the product has been in people's hands and we're on our way to set two. And there were a lot of kinks in set one. Like the most noticeable, or the two most noticeable were print quality issues that the creators of the game had no control over. It was like print manufacturing. It is that the card sorting is pretty rough. So if you open a pack, you'll tend to get like 5 or 6 cards that are in the same run of numbers, and you'll also tend to get a lot of the same rares. The other issue is that a lot of the foils and higher rarity cards have print lines that are very noticeable. Um, and like the stellar that I pulled did not have those print lines, but the stellar that I traded for has a very noticeable print line on them. So it's kind of hard to want to invest in a game if the quality isn't going to be there. But they are taking steps to that. So I feel like we'll see more of that as we get higher assurance of what the product is, you know?
What stellar did you say you pulled?
I pulled Stellar Aphoros, but I traded it for a Stellar Infurix.
Does the Infurix have print lines on it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the Infurix I traded for had print lines on it, which also kind of sucks because that might have affected whether I kept Aphoros. Like if it might have affected if I was going to take the trade or not. But since it was a digital trade, we didn't send pictures like that before, or we didn't send enough pictures for me to be able to see the print lines. But it is a
Yeah,
very noticeable
maybe
one.
maybe for the audience, if you can, you should edit in a picture of what the card's supposed to look like versus what yours looks like.
I mean, I could. I think it's kind of rough though, because how do you avoid this kind of thing in a digital marketplace? Like, you can ask for more pictures, but like, how are you gonna hit the right angle on a foil? Also,
Yeah.
Matt, I don't, you can't see my video right now, but I have my Pantera sheet behind me. This thing is huge. It's like, it's wider than my shoulders are.
That is actually crazy.
Okay, so my number 10, my most anticipated thing with Elestrals are the Titans, but I don't think that set 2 is the right place for the Titans. But if it were, then it would be the Titan Kryos, I think. He is just a big old ice Titan. I would give him like a big debuff effect or a big slowdown effect. Um, but also mechanically, we have yet to see what Titans will look like. So, that's just a big gesture. And really, I wouldn't start Titans with a minor one like Kryos. Like, if you've seen Hercules, you've seen him, but he's not really apparent in most mythology. Okay.
Titans would be a very interesting thing to try and implement. I think it could bring a lot of a lot of potential balancing issues to light that like people already know about, but people getting into the game might not know about right now because they're still learning. Um, and it could also add another dimension to the game that we're not already privy of.
Yeah, and we know that there is like some major element of the game that is not present in set one. They've said that multiple times. Um,
Yeah,
but I wonder design wise, would you do it like the gods, or do you make them different, or do you make them like the same card type but opposite somehow? Um, and I just think as characters, the Titans are all super interesting too because I love the play up of in between generations.
yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess we can do like a snake thing, and I can do my number 9, and then you can do your number 9. So
Sounds
my
good.
number 9 is I want a busted stage 2, like a busted ascension for fire or fire ice. And I would especially love it if they based it on Infurix. I don't know if you've seen, because I think it was spoiled before you started playing, but they have shown probably about 10 cards from set 2, maybe. Maybe it's less than 10, maybe 5 or so. But one of the cards is an ice version of Infurix, and it's pretty much the same card, but it's ice. But it would be so cool to build like a Charon's Obel ice fire ascension deck. And especially like imagine a fire ice phoenix fusion. That'd be so cool. And then it would give a
It
lot
would
of
be.
context to the cards that pull themselves back from graveyard.
Absolutely. It definitely could. I agree with you. Yeah, graveyard recursion isn't a super prevalent thing in the game right now, and that could be a good thing. The only cards that are really big from for graveyard recursion right now either only pull spells, only pull themselves back, or cost 3 spirits to pull 1 monster back.
Yeah, Rise from the Ashes is
So
really expensive for what it does, but it is a really cool card. If you win
yeah,
using Rise from the Ashes, you feel like the coolest person in the world.
absolutely. But I think adding more cards that do stuff like that could potentially add more depth to the game. Um, they just got to be careful because you don't want to wind up like Yu-Gi-Oh, just special summoning monsters from grave.
Well, yeah, and that's a play design thing with Magic too. You don't want to, or I guess pretty much every card game, you could
Yeah,
design uh where you play the same cards every turn. Uh, like one example is the arcane mechanic in Magic, like Splice on to Arcane. It is considered a failed mechanic, even though I think it's pretty cool, because you're doing the same thing every turn. And if you're doing the same
yeah,
thing every turn, especially if turns take a long time, it feels kind of bad. Like it doesn't feel like you're getting much variety or play out of that.
Yeah, you're not advancing the board state,
And I
really.
feel like graveyard mechanics lead more toward that. Think like Eldritch for Yu-Gi-Oh, where you are Conquistador pop, set Scarlet Sanguine, um, and you're doing similar loops every turn. So that's what you want to avoid with graveyard kind of strategies, in my head.
Absolutely.
What is your number 9?
My number 9, uh, and people might hate me for this, but it is a card that allows you to play counters as though they were invokes.
Like
So,
Makura the
yeah, yeah.
Destructor.
So we have cards like in Magic the Gathering that allowed you to play sorceries as though they had flash, or other cards that allow you to do the same thing. Um, my deal is sometimes it's a feels bad moment, and this might be a little bit niche, but imagine you pull a chariot. Um, shoot, what's that? Helios chariot ride, right? You draw into it, but you were like, dang, this is the turn I really want to pop off. And I don't want to have to wait through my opponent's next set of combat to be able to play this.
Yeah, because it could be the aggro card that you needed a top deck to win the game. But since it's a counter
Absolutely.
ruin, you cannot play it that turn.
Absolutely. And then cards like Tsunami. Sometimes it feels good just to be able to turn all your opponent's cards into defense position on the same turn you draw Tsunami. So a card like that, even if it costs two, even if it costs two, imagine a 4 mana, or not 4 mana, 4 spirit spell, because you'd be paying 2 for the invoke rune that allows you to play counter runes as though they were invokes, and then you would be able to play the counter rune for its natural cost. But doing so for 2 more spirits allowed you to just open up the board completely.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think the rough thing with that though is I don't think that there are enough cards yet that would benefit from that. Like Helios and Tsunami are good options, but I'm thinking of other ones. I guess you could also do Charon's Oval, like I was mentioning earlier. That would make that better too, and that's a card I want to see be good. But a lot of the
Yes.
counter
So
runes that people run a lot of are like PTA, Shield of Achilles. I like that it doesn't
yeah.
make those cards better, but I don't know that there's enough cards that you would naturally want to run without that kind of thing. Does that
Well,
make
it would
sense?
increase the power of water uh, specifically. So what it would allow you to do is imagine somebody played a Sonic Core. Well, you can't cast counter runes. So on your turn, you play a Veritaqua, cast that spell, and then cast Tsunami because it's no longer a counter rune,
Yeah, yeah.
allowing you to turn the opponent's Sonic Core
No, I get
sideways and
it,
attack with
and it's a
Veritaqua.
cool effect. It is a
Yeah.
cool effect. I'm just wondering, set two might be a little too early for it, but that is something I would like to see in the future. Like I think Makura the Destructor, it's a card that I've tried to make work in Yu-Gi-Oh. It was banned for a while because you can make like FDKs with it, but mm, it's a cool
Yeah, in
idea.
a game like this, it's just not possible to FTK somebody. So could
Uh,
well, I'm not going to say it's not possible. I've
well,
seen some
currently
people
it's
trying to do
not.
some.
You can get close,
Well, I've
but
seen
like
people. Yeah, I've seen people try to do some eruption strategies to FTK somebody, but mathematically they're just so unlikely, and they still wouldn't kill. They would just put your opponent in such a terrible position.
yeah, the other one that I've tried, and I've seen other people try that doesn't get there yet, but might be something to look at in the future is Humbust Mill. Um, you just
Yeah,
play a ton of the draw cards in Humbust, and you just draw as many cards as you can and try to mill them out. But I feel like that deck's cool as long as it's not like the best deck. If it's not consistent, if it wins like maybe 30, 40% of its matches, so it's never going to win like a competitive event, but it's still playable. I think that's fine.
yeah. They just got to be careful about how many cantrips they print at that point.
Okay, and what is your next thing on your list?
Um, I would like dual type artifacts that have lore behind them.
Mm.
So we already have the gods, right? They're already in the game. Um, so this would allow you to start making a story where the gods are potentially at war with each other or trying to defend their land from something else. And they have to come together and create these artifacts that would be dual typed, that could have special effects. And I think it would just be neat. I think it would create more variation for certain color combinations, specifically like blue red or red white, because they aren't the best right now, and they definitely need support.
Um, I love that. It made me think of X-Men, like the fastball special with Wolverine getting thrown by Colossus. Um, I think the general story they're pushing right now is that the Titan Uranus is coming back or something. And the gods are gonna have to band together to beat them. Um,
Yeah,
but that would definitely lead to a lot of team up situations that you could do with like, and there are color combinations that I really want to see more love. Like you'll see in a lot of my list, there's a couple color combinations that I'm like, ooh, I really want support for this. um
yeah, absolutely.
okay, so I guess we can go ahead and go to my number 8,
Yep.
which is non-spirits in the spirit deck, or cards that do not provide energy to play cards in your spirit deck, but it'll give you other effects. Something like,
Yeah, you talked with me about this the other day.
yeah, something like you have a Majesty in play. If you have Majesty in play, you can play this card to destroy 2 of your opponent's cards. But
Yeah.
if you don't have Majesty, it's just a dead spirit. Um, it and it would be a good way to boost up uh, the evolution lines that are bad. Like you just make them better. Um, I think we probably won't see, the reason it's low is I don't think we'll see something like this in set 2. Really, I don't see something like this in set 3. But going into like set 4 or 5, after all the elements have been introduced, I feel like we could start experimenting with things in the spirit deck more.
Yeah, because you want Ascensions to be cool, right? So if you want them to be cool, give them cool things to do that other normal Elestrals could not.
Yeah, and make each one feel special, you know? And
Yeah.
like you also have the thing where the community is a big part of this game. And if the community really loves a card like Barabog, but Barabog's not a good card, you can go back and retroactively make it a good card.
Yeah.
Like Small Tuga, give me better Small Tuga. The next thing on my list is, this is my number 7, is a card that makes your opponent make a difficult choice. Kind of like a fact or fiction effect from Magic, where um, they have to choose between two things that are both good for you, um, but it's the opponent's choice, so they get some say so in it. Like it could
Yeah.
be your opponent expends 3 spirits, or you draw 4 cards, something crazy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That would be neat. So I could see it leading to situations where, especially in something like a burn deck, where you don't want your opponent to draw more eruptions, but you're going to be doing the job for them if you expend any amount of spirits.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that it feels good either way for the person casting it.
Yeah.
But it also does not feel backbreaking to the player that you're playing against. Because if you're playing against a burn deck that's playing a lot of eruptions, it doesn't feel like, hey, they just burnt me down and there was nothing I could do about it because I don't have invoke competition. But if you stick on the option to the other player, they can say, okay, look, I'm getting low on spirits. I can't take this 3 right now.
Absolutely.
But that'll lead us to your. Are you on your number 7 now? What number are you on?
Um, let's see. I did 10, and then you did 10, and then you did 9, 8, and then I did 8, 7, and then you. Or no, wait. I guess I am on 7. Yeah, I think I'm on 7.
Yeah, so you're 7.
So the next thing I want to see is just more product. The thing I want most, like from this game right now, that we'll talk about later, is I want to be able to buy singles, and I think that the game is not going to be able to do that anytime soon unless they start pumping out quality product, and I mean a lot of it. Um, Again, it might not be the right time to do it, but if we're ever going to get to the point where you have a primary market that allows you to purchase singles, you're going to need to just print off a ton of product. And even if it devalues a lot of the normal printed singles, you don't have to print out a ton of super rare cards. You don't have to print out a ton of full arts, but the normal singles, there just needs to be more of them around. The cards need to be less rare.
Yeah, there need to be enough around for a singles market to emerge because if you think about it, card games are a big min-maxing thing. Like at a tournament level, you want to have the best deck that you can, or the best deck for your strategy that you want, if you want to play an off-brand strategy. And to do that, you want to build that deck efficiently, like you want to play efficiently in a card game. So if you are forced in a situation where you can't efficiently get the cards, that's going to turn a lot of the min-max players off, you know? Like, if the strategy you want to build, you would have to buy packs for it because nobody's selling those singles, or there's not a great place to buy those singles. There's the Discord server, but, you know, you're testing the waters with sellers on that point. Like, you're going with people that don't really have as much accountability. Um,
Absolutely.
like, you want to
Versus a
go
website
through.
like TCG Player.
Yeah, you want a vetted seller so that you know that it's going to show up on time, in good condition. There's no chance of it being like a fake or anything like that, or a very little chance. Um, and that's really important because, like, especially in a hobby where a lot of the part is collection, but a lot of the part is just play. And if there's somebody that
Yeah.
just wants to play but doesn't really care about the collection side, you have to have that for them. And I agree that like the scarcity is an issue right now. I think it will definitely get better, but I agree to the extent that you're saying that they really need to pump out enough cards where the game is widely accessible stock wise,
Absolutely.
while also
Yeah.
maintaining those valuable cards. Like those don't need to be widely available, but um, the cards that you just need to play do need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Normal print copies of cards that like there just needs to be more of them.
Yeah, like Toxian. I need a Toxian, but
Yeah. Good
but I
card.
didn't
Good
buy
card.
that starter set. That's a weird design choice to me. Is I need that single card. It's not the base. It's not the face card of that deck, but it's a card that I need.
Yeah. Also, there are players out there like me specifically, um, and I'm not the only one. I know plenty of people who do this as well. They don't like buying packs because packs, at the end of the day, if you have cards you don't want to use, are just going to be bulk. They're going to sit in the corner somewhere, and you're never going to touch them. And me in particular, I can't speak for everyone else on this, but I don't like having to be a seller. I don't like it at all. So whenever I have bulk, it'll just sit there for years until I decide to bring it to a card shop and sell it as bulk for like 50 cents per 100 card or something like that. Um, so yeah, it's a big deal for someone like me to be able to buy singles.
Well, and also the rarity of the cards, and especially with set one, the poor sorting of the set.
Yes.
If you bought a box, you could be buying a box because you're like, look, I really need Viserys. I need 3 of them. and then you pull
Yeah.
0 Viserys, but you pull like 5 of this other rare that you didn't care about, where it could be a starter deck rare.
Well, now you've got 9 Sparkets. Have fun, you know.
Okay, and what's your number 6?
So I know I'm gonna get this one. This is a guaranteed. I want a more fleshed out story, more lore from behind the game. Uh, that's a big deal to me because whenever you create a story that people enjoy, they're going to want to buy products for their favorite characters. So, for example, an industry or a franchise like Pokemon, they don't make the majority of their money from their games. They make a majority of their money from people buying plushies and shirts and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I feel like if they made a really super interesting story and then focused on trying to sell, all this merchandise, people would be more inclined to buy it.
Okay, here's a question though. What mode does the story need to be in? Does it need to be a short story, a comic, a video game, an audiobook, a video? Like what does it need to
I
be?
think I think just a general cartoon, like a cartoon, because
Whew, that's expensive.
yeah, I get it's expensive, but if you believe in your product and you're willing to make the investment, at the end of the day, like there's no doubt at the back of your mind that it's worth it. And it's not like he's already not getting funding from his community already. Like he could already be starting a kick. Dan specifically could already be starting a Kickstarter for funding on a TV show if he really wanted to.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
He could see
yeah,
if it's out there, and if it's not out there, it's not.
there's no reason that there's no reason that you couldn't at least see what people's interests are or how their interest lies in a TV show for Elestrals. And I would wager that there's a lot of interest in it. Like the people who are into Elestrals are super duper into Elestrals.
Um, Personally, what I would look for story right now, I would look for like a video that you can also listen to like a podcast because I typically engage with media. The bulk of my time is on my drive to work, and I think that I could sit down and read it, but I'm more likely to engage with it if it's in video form. And also, a lot of the people that play Lestrals, I don't know if or have bought into Lestrals, are people that just want to support Dan himself. And I was not like a huge A Drive person before Lestrals. Um, like that's why I was really hyped to see Shady Penguin jumping in because I was a Shady Penguin person. But I would just watch Dan's like tournament stuff, like his draft league videos. But there are a lot of
Yeah.
people that have bought in just to support him. So they are used to the video form content or the stream form content. And I think
Yeah.
that stream form or video form would be the right way to go. I don't know that it has to be like a cartoon style, but I would I would definitely think at least like an audiobook form where it could be a written story. Get Jay Johnny in it, get the community in on it, because you have people in the community that have talked about wanting to do voice acting for something like that. And then you could have like artist frames. It doesn't have to be fully animated, but you could have like keyframes of like maybe a comic book style art going on while they're doing the narration or the voice work. Something like that I
Absolutely.
think
And
would
there's
be more
no
obtainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason that it can't start as an audiobook now and become a cartoon later down the line.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. That's
Yeah.
like think about all these other things like game nights for you or the game nights for Magic started a huge trend in like live action playing series, and now that's
Yes.
just like a normal thing. Okay, so I
Absolutely.
think it's time for my 6 and 5. My 6 and 5
Yes.
are a lot more specific than the things that we've been saying. I want a Fire Viserys. Okay.
A fire type Viserious. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
get like look, I love Common Rider. Common Rider got all the different forms. Or if you're a Super Sentai Power Rangers person, you got all the different color Rangers. So give me a different colored bug fighter. That's what I want. And I think Fire does need a push like that. And I feel like Viserys is a really strong piece for Earth. I feel like Water could also use something like Viserys. Because it is aggressive, but it is also partially a value engine, but it's a conditional value engine, so it's not oppressive. And I feel like Fire and Water could both use a value engine. I think that's part of the reason why I why Wind is probably the second best element above everything else, because Aeolus and other options just make the what's that card or what's that called, the consistency so high in those elements.
Yeah, the fact that it's a toolbox deck that can pull its answer from deck.
Yeah, you get what you want, and then also you get like overtime card draw, card advantage type stuff, or card
Yeah, and
thinning.
deck thinning. And deck thinning. Absolutely.
Man, deck thinning don't matter. Come on, deck thinning don't matter.
But hear me out, right? So you pull a P Gust from with using Aeolus effect, right? That ensures later down the line you're not going to draw that P Gust whenever you need to draw a different thing.
I mean, I guess, but
Especially,
the
especially
likelihood
if
that
you're
you
only
would
running
draw
one P
that is
Gust in
pretty
your deck.
low.
Well, no, if you're only running one P Gust in your deck, just ping a back row card because you're playing a Nexus deck that allows you to Nexus from Aeolus over to P Gust. You can ping multiple back row cards and still have a body on board.
Mm, I guess. Well, I guess it also makes sense for if you're just running like a little win package and you have like a very specific number of spirits. Like you don't want to draw
Yeah,
the cards for the spirits you can't use later. I don't
absolutely.
know. It still seems like very small advantages, but I guess the small advantages could add up.
Absolutely. You don't want to draw that Pigus later down the line whenever you don't need it, but you have it in your hand for if and when you ever do need it because it's a toolbox deck.
Yeah, and Aeolus is so stupid good. And it
Yeah,
only gets
and
better when the Elestrals get printed. It's like Zeus is gonna get worse as 3 power matters less. Aeolus is gonna get better
yes,
as like other cards get printed for it.
absolutely. And also think about this. Um, Whenever you thin your deck of one P Gust, um, if you already have an advantage in Elestrals on board, then you can just expend a draw. And whenever you expend a draw, your expend a draw is stronger because you have one less card in your deck and you know it's not going to be that P Gust.
Man, you really don't like P Gus, man. You really dogging on P Gus. I think P
I'm
Gus is a
not
cute card.
dogging. I think it's a great card. Um, but I think P Gust is actually really good and very well designed. But I also keep in mind that it's essentially just a 1/1 body. Like it's not going to be doing much more than your typical 1/1 would.
I don't know. I think the art on it is fantastic. So that number
Oh
six
yes,
is Fire Viserys for me. Number five is a Earth Fire Gorilla. I feel like a gorilla has got to be coming soon. We already have a lion. Who be the king of the jungle is actually the gorilla. But what element it is kind of, could really differ. There are a lot of games with like a fire gorilla. There's there are several grass monkeys just in Pokemans. Um,
absolutely.
but one that is fire and grass would be so cool. But also, I'm a fire grass person. Like, I think moving forward, design wise, if they really nail fire grass, that's what I would be sticking with. I really love water too. I love the direction they're taking with water. I actually have very few recommendations for water on this list because I feel like it just needs to be stronger. It doesn't need anything specific that I'm looking for. But
They need a one drop 7/1.
one drop 7 for sure, for sure. But well, it has a is a Mustacheon's a one drop 6/1 if you play it
Yeah,
right.
I know.
But
I know.
a fire earth gorilla. That's what I want.
Yeah. Let's see. What effect would you have on that, or would that just be
Oh man,
like?
what effect would I have on it? Man, I think it'd be
Yeah.
funny if it just didn't have effect, but it had like crack stats. Um,
Okay. What stats would you put on it?
like make it a 2 drop, like 10-10.
2 drop 10/10.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you heard it here
That is pretty
first.
strong.
2 drop 10-10, but no effect.
A vanilla Ascension. That's a 10/10.
I would play the heck out of
Oh,
that guy. That's all I would be doing.
I mean, it is a huge body that's hard to get over. So it would definitely see usage, IMO. And imagine you enchant that thing because it's already in fire, so you could enchant it using a Hephaestus deck. And if it's in Earth already, then you could play the field spell, the stadium that gives you a +1 for each enchanting Earth.
For
Could be
Lloyd
good.
Forest. Okay, what's your next one? Give me Donkey Kong, but
Let's
what's your
see.
next one?
My next one was better artifacts. So I talked about dual color artifacts. This is a separate topic of discussion because dual color artifacts aren't necessarily better. Um, I feel right now that artifacts, uh, they have a problem because of the fact that the Elestral they empower suddenly becomes a huge target.
Mm-hmm.
And with so much removal, especially non targeting removal in the game right now, it can be very hard to succeed using any specific artifact.
Yeah, and I play a ton of artifacts.
Um,
There's actually a lot more issues with the artifacts than just that. But
yeah, um, it's a feel bad moment whenever you enchant, this huge attacker with something like Hephaestus, uh, or Hammer specifically, and then you try to go in, and they just shield of Achilles your thing back to your hand,
well, I'm the
and
one
then
that
you're
puts Trident on everything, and it like it's still meh. I feel like Bag of Winds is almost there. I know you're a big Bag of
yeah,
Winds fan, but
work on
still,
it.
it's so high. Like the number of spirits you have to put on are so high, and it's also tricky because where's the design space moving forward for artifacts? Because we already have ones
Yeah,
that give them protection, and that protection's not enough for them to be like meta. So what do you do that's better than that? And is it worth it? Like, is it worth is it worth cracking the game for that? And I like the Voltron style. Like I like Voltron aggro, and that's why I play that. But it's so expensive. You're using so much of your life to load up on swords, especially if you're playing more than one per game. And then the card quality
yeah,
or the card value is also to draw cards, you're gonna have to use spirits. And
yeah, and
if you're not using spirits to draw more cards, you're gonna run out of cards too faster if you're playing equipments. And
absolutely.
that's an issue too. Especially
I feel like what you do to create better artifacts that aren't overpowered is you simply design artifacts that gain buffs whenever you meet certain requirements. And we already see that in the game with artifacts. Artifacts that state when a specific divine ruse is enchanted, the opponent can't do this, or whenever your Elestral destroys another Elestral, they have to do this. So all you would simply have to do is print artifacts in the same color that state whenever you meet maybe even a certain devotion to a color. Like whenever you hit 7 blue enchanting spirits on the battlefield, you gain this. And it's a very strong effect, but it's a hard effect to meet. And there's still a risk because, again, somebody could just play P Gust and ping it. Um, but it's still worth playing at that point. and you give it something that is a pseudo engine, where if it destroys an Elestral, you could potentially draw 2 cards, or your opponent has to discard 2 cards, or just make it worth putting on the battlefield.
Yeah. Also, another thing that they could do with both artifacts and ascensions, they could just do a rules change, and they could do it like the Digimon TCG, where when you ascend or when you digivolve, you draw a card, so that you don't
Ooh,
feel
that
that
could be
card
neat.
negativity. Like it encourages you to do the cool thing. I think you have to
That
put
could
a
be
cap
neat.
on it per once per turn or something. Or
Oh
you're gonna get
no,
into those OTK
absolutely
style
not.
stuff.
What you could do is it could just be an extra expend a draw for each time you do it.
Oh yeah, maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, they could do a rules change or something if that's something that they have a goal for. I personally do like I love Necklace of Harmonia. That's one of my favorite cards because it's so jank, but it's so cool. Like the boost is so big.
Yeah, I feel like that card could be very good with Spy Nymph. I don't know. But the problem with it is that you can just ascend into another Celestial.
Well, no, well, that's the problem with
Yeah.
Spidem. But the problem with Necklace is how good removal is. So you could pop all these spirits to play a thing, and then they just shield you, and it's like, man, I just burnt so many spirits for that.
Yeah, well, imagine you play Necklace on my Elestral, and then I just ascend away that Elestral into another 1-drop Elestral, because you're allowed to do that inside the game. Or, yeah, just anything like that.
Well, I don't
And
play
then,
Necklace on your thing. I use Sprouter, search Necklace, then Sprouter's you talk about a 5 guy, he's an 8 guy now.
yeah, I get it, I get it. It's just,
But you've just popped 3 spirits for like you were going minus if you're running into a shield now.
yeah, what I've seen people trying to do is they wait for the opponent to try and ascend into something big. They crash Spine Up into it, so now it has 0 power, and then they empower it with Necklace, and then you only play Elestrals in defense.
I have not seen
That
that.
way
That's
they
really
burn
funny though.
themselves out.
Like I know you could do stuff like that, but that's I want to be aggro. I don't want to be stall. Okay, let's
Yeah,
see.
I get it.
Okay, and what was your next thing? I think we're at your number 4 now. Are we at your number 4 now?
I think so. I've lost track, but that's okay. Um, so I want a. Wait a second. I talked about better artifacts. I talked about more product. I talked about. Oh no, I didn't talk about more Elestrals content. So
Okay,
we've
okay.
talked about the TV show. We've talked about potentially a TV show, an audiobook, stuff like that. And we've talked about sponsoring players to create content. Well, what I want is more Illustrals content, because whenever I first got into this game, I was starved for content because there's barely any of it out there. Like you have to search the ends of YouTube and Twitch for it, and
Dang, you really calling out
it.
Wirtz and Red Baron and like you calling everybody out today.
I really am, and I think they would agree. Um, like they want to go out of their way to make more content for this game because they care about it and enjoy it. And I feel as though creating sponsorships for these kinds of players to encourage them to make more content would only benefit the game's creator. Because the best advertisement you can do for a game is watching people do cool stuff inside the game.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting take. I think my only qualm with that would be it's really up to the community because the more that people watch it, the more people will start making it. And if people aren't going to watch it, then the like people that get bigger views are going to hump to other games. So also as
Sure.
Lestral players, we have to be ready to spend time watching videos. Like, um,
Oh yeah, and I feel as though many people are. I told you, me in particular, I was starved for Electricals content. I was trying to find it everywhere, and I watched. within like 2 weeks of me starting playing the game, I think I watched every single video Jay Johnny had of it, every single video Incremental had of it, every single video Works had of it, every single video. Who else? There was
Damn.
one more. Yeah. Well, I watched all of A Drive's content, of course. Um, and I feel like if it only takes you like 2 to 3 weeks to get through all the content for a game that has such depth, you just don't have enough content. So by sponsoring players and putting out more product and creating content outside of the card games for people to enjoy while they're not playing the game, it would simply, for one, make the people who already enjoy the game enjoy it for a longer period of time, and two, um, give new players stuff to watch.
Well, and it just builds that sense of ongoing community, you know? Like
Absolutely,
I feel like that's really important for a
absolutely,
card game as a hobby.
absolutely.
Let's see, and what was your next thing? I think
I think it's your turn now.
oh, is it? Well, I really think you're
Yeah,
right on that. I just think that the community really needs to step up more and be more involved because there's not a
absolutely.
ton of engagement on a lot of this stuff. And as a card game, you have to have a lot of engagement, or it's not going to merit having a new game instead of just playing something that does. Um,
Absolutely.
okay, my number four is my custom Elestral Oakapi. Um, I think that we are going to see some big hits to. Oh, first off, do you know what an Okapi is? It looks kind of like a giraffe, but
Yeah.
it's cuter.
It looks like a what?
It's kind of like a giraffe, but it's cuter and small.
Oh, is that what your PFP picture is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okapi
Yeah.
gang. That's my the YouTubes. Um, but um, I love him, and I want him to digivolve into Smokehoppy, a fire Elestral. But the specific effect that I would like to see for Okapi, I view him like Oracle of Moldiah in Magic, where he will look at the top card of your deck and you can get to play from it. Um, but I see him doing that with either Invoke or Counter Ruins. And I would vote for Counter Ruins if he came in set two right now. Um, because I think Counter Ruins are about to get slapped in the face. So I feel like there still needs to be like some new stuff for Counter Ruin decks. Um,
Sure, sure, absolutely.
like I really want to see Counter Ruins get knocked down really hard, but to the people that like playing that attrition style and the haha I got you control, like I still want them to have like their place in the sun. Or maybe copy lets you play artifacts off the top of your deck because like I mentioned I like playing artifacts. That'd be pretty funny. I can machine gun as many swords off the top as I want.
Absolutely, yeah.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah, like your old Brea deck where you could sacrifice to ping.
Oh, you should see my current Brea deck. It's mean now. It has a
I
lot of
bet it
infinite
is.
combos now. Okay, and my number three, we're getting into the really hot things. I feel like this will happen eventually, but I don't know if it's in set two, but I do want it in set two because I feel like it's something really missing from the game. Um, is a card that tutors ascensions or quick ascends into ascensions so that uh, like the worst ascensions can just be playable instead of feeling like bricks or garnets. I
Yeah.
I would like to see something like search your library for a stage two Elestral, and then draw a card. But it'd be like three spirits instead of two like Nog.
So
So
just
you
a Rise from Ashes that pulls a card from your deck to hand or from deck to field
no to your hand. If you did
to your
that
hand.
way,
Okay.
it would be a three spirit generic invoke search your deck for a stage 2 Elestral, and then draw a card.
Which would then allow you to ascend and give you card advantage.
Yeah. So you're not going minus on card advantage, and it also makes it to where you can run like 2 copies, or you can run one. You can run the one of fun of the Elestral that you like playing sometimes, but you don't want to lose games to play it. Uh,
Yeah,
and you just run that 1 copy of it, but you can see it if you want to because you're playing like 3 copies of the Ascension one, or the Ascension one.
absolutely. Yeah,
Or like a 1 or 2 drop. You'd have to play it to find out what number feels good, but an Invoke Rune that just lets you ascend.
and that would cost 1 or 2. You said.
I think it'd be 1 or 2. 3 seems real high. Like 3 seems high for Rise from the Ashes for me.
Me and you could playtest that. Like, you could just replace one of the cards with your deck,
Yeah, we could,
and yeah,
but I feel like it's gonna be a
I
thing
think
that exists eventually anyway.
could. But me and you could playtest it just to see how it would function.
What you're saying is you want
I
to
feel
play
like
test it.
I don't want to use it myself. I just want to see what a game against something like that would feel like.
Okay, what are your next two? Should be close to
Okay,
the
these would be
end.
my last two actually.
Oh, these are your last two.
So
Whoa! Drum roll.
yeah, and I've saved the best two for last. I've already spoiled what the last one's going to be, but that's okay.
I have not
So
saved my
my
best for last. My best was actually the fire gorilla, so it's downhill from there.
so my second, oh my gosh, the damn gorilla. But my second most wanted thing is a Chillalotl Ascension.
Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely love Chillalottl's design. Um, I think it is one of the cutest Elestrals in the game, and I want to play it in pretty much every deck that I build in set 2 if I can. And I feel like having an Ascension, even if it's only a stage 2 Ascension, even if it doesn't get a third stage, um, would at least help me deck build in set 2.
Um, I'm also interested to see what they do with that because Chillalotl is one of the community-made Elestrals along with Pandasin. And
Yeah.
those set one was designed before those cards were. So I wonder what the plan is with those cards in the future. Are they seen as, well, we'll do that every now and then, but we're not going to ascend those, or are they going to be key pieces of the game, or is it going to be case by case? But I do want to see. I mean, personally, I would like to see things that the community has shown we care about pushed more. I think the community is like
Yes.
the biggest thing. The biggest thing to play this game instead of another game is how much the community is listened to.
Absolutely. Because in other TCGs right now, you don't get that at all.
Yeah,
It
you
can't
got
just
the
not
big
exist.
corporation that's like, I look, man, I don't care what you think. You just buy this product.
Yeah, we're gonna print it and you're gonna buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I don't respect the you're gonna buy it either way attitude. Because no, I'm not gonna buy it either
Yes.
way. If I don't like it, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
And like
That's why I like
Elestrals,
singles.
Elestrals is the most I've bought of a single set of any game ever, and it's a pretty small game.
Yeah. Well, it's also just a good game. Like, I can't say that after playing Elestrals, it's hard for me to say like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh or anything like that. I already didn't like Yu-Gi-Oh in the past. I only enjoyed piloting one deck. You know that. Um, but then after playing Elestrals, I'm like, damn, like I really don't even like Magic the Gathering anymore. Like it's hard for me to sit down and play a full game of Modern or Commander or anything like that whenever I could just be playing Elestrals, which I feel is
hmm
more fun.
See, and my other card games are like very different. Like, I like Digimon, but the power creep kind of pushed me away from that. And then my other favorite game was Android Netrunner, which is no longer in production. They're making fan sets now, but it's so different um, that you don't even feel like you're in the same genre playing that game.
Yeah, but no, Chilolotl Ascension is like the second most wanted thing for me.
Man, put Panda Sin
If I could
Ascension in
get
there too, because Panda Sin's a cool card.
sure, yeah. I just love. I think Pandason's cool. I just love Chilolotl to death. Like you don't understand. Like I've already been trying to build jank control decks with it, and it hasn't been working. And I am just. It makes me even more excited for set two whenever I can finally pop off with that with Chilolotl.
Yeah, I'm wondering what they're gonna carve out with Frost. I'm kind of in general wondering. Set two, I feel like will tell us a lot. Mechanically, what are the elements gonna look like? Because set
True.
one, most of the elements don't really feel like they have mechanical themes. I would say water has the strongest feeling of mechanical theme. Fire, sorta, but not really. Right? Because you have the bears, and then you have some stall stuff, and you have some burn.
Yeah.
I guess you could say fire's kind of slow burn, but then it has aggro stuff with like Blazerus and Necra. Um, yeah, so fire,
Yeah.
and
Hopefully,
yeah, it just feels kind
hopefully,
of all over the place.
hopefully spirits become much more or hopefully the wheel for spirits become much more divided with set two.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see, but it's hard to know how they're gonna do that.
We
Um,
have no choice but to find out.
but I do like that they're making design decisions to make the elements feel different than they do in other games. Um, like especially fire. Fire's been on my mind a lot. I'm drawing a Leonite right now. Um, but fire's
You and some
always
other
the
people.
aggro, big punchy thing in a card game. But starting fire out as the slow burn, I think, is really interesting. Wind is so weird in this game. Like, uh, usually when you think of wind, you would think more of what's going on with water, like moving their stuff around a little bit, pushing stuff back. But you get like the tutors and the aggro and the burn. So I think the element's really
No, I
interesting.
agree with you. There definitely needs to be a more divide in the color wheel. Like they need to do more specific things. Um, On to my final thing, and again,
Woo!
I've already revealed this. I want an evolved card market. I want the
Okay.
card market to finally develop to the point where I can buy singles. Will it happen in set two? Probably not. But two of my 10 things prior were literally trying to push for the card market to evolve.
And like that is a thing that's really important. It's not the
Yeah,
sexiest pick, it's not the cool thing to say, but it's like a bread and potato, you gotta have it.
absolutely. I it, bread and potato. You mean bread and butter? Is that?
No, you ain't gotta have butter, come on. You gotta
Oh,
have
okay.
potatoes. I'm Irish,
We ain't
boy.
churning out here. But yeah, no, I agree. It's something that's needed.
Do
And
you
it
think
also is
TCG
like,
Player is the right place? Like something like TCG Player Card Kingdom? If they just
yeah,
started selling Celestial singles, then you're like, okay, you made it there.
yeah, exactly. And it's part of the adulting process for a card game. If in which point you can start selling singles through your primary market, like people just know, yeah, I'll just go on a website and buy a single. Like I don't have to sit here and open 30 packs and maybe pull the card I'm looking for. You've developed to the point where you have enough product out there for people to do something like that, and you don't necessarily have to print too much, and you can start printing less to increase the value of the cards you already have out there. And also, it just makes it more convenient for people to get into the game, which is important. It's beyond important.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's too high time investment, like time has been a big thing for me lately. If I had not gotten into Like if Elestrals came out this year instead of last year, I probably wouldn't have had time for it, just where I am in life right now.
Yeah. Hey, your last two things?
Okay, my number two thing is cards that remove multiple back row. Um, but I would also specifically like for it to be in multiple elements, like maybe have an expensive generic option and then have more specific, cheaper options in particular elements. Because back row meta, man, like it just feels like you cannot be an aggro player in this game right now because of how robust removal is.
Yes, I agree.
Like you got good beaters, but and you have like decent protection out there too, but the answers are so stupid strong that it does not matter how good the beater is, how good the protection is. Like it's gonna be relatively easy for them to knock it off if they held up the right answer.
Yeah, that was part of my line of thinking for the card that allows you to cast counters as other invokes. Um, Being able to cast something like, which I guess Helios Chariot's Ride in particular wouldn't work because you can only cast it on a draw step. Um, but just cards like that that allow you to have instant speed answers with the strength of counter runes that shut down your opponent's back row.
Well, I don't need them to be instant speed. What I'm thinking is maybe like a generic three cost that pops all maybe you just do face downs, or maybe you do all face down and artifacts. Um,
Yeah,
Make one that's generic for three so that no matter what element you're playing, you have like access to, like you're not completely shut out of a game by a back row deck. But I feel like you want it to be pretty expensive because you want the elements that are good at that to feel special while they do it. And then I feel like you give better options, like maybe you give wind a one that pops, but it cost, or you could pop any number with one wind, but it costs one more per each one that you pop. So it could just cost two, um, or it could or you could make it cost zero, but it costs an extra win for each one that you want to pop. So you could pop four
gotcha.
for
Yeah, that makes
four,
sense.
but it doesn't hit any of yours. Um, you
You,
could do something
you know,
with
a divine
water.
rune that does that. A divine rune that does that would also be cool.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be a headache to write on a divine card. Um, and then also like for water, water has this push and pull feel with the position changing. I really like that. I feel like they should push water more in the feeling, like to feel different from other elements in that it feels like you're moving pieces around. So maybe water would be the one that's like, hey, it's two drop, bounce all of their runes to their hand, or bounce all runes on the field to the hand.
Yeah, that could be really good. That
Um,
could be very strong.
like, hey, Trunade. But that's
Oh,
my number two.
it should also reveal them. TBH,
Maybe.
like it reveals them as it's going to hand. So you got to reveal them, then put it back in their hand.
I don't know. I don't know. I think the less information you have in Elestrals, the more fun the game is because you have that tension of, man, is it a shield? Is it a PTA?
Sure. Uh, I agree. I just like having value for a two drop. Uh, and did you say this was going to be a counter or an invoke?
This would be an invoke that bounces all runes on the field of the hand. So if they have like an artifact
Okay,
equipped, it would go back to their hand. They would have burnt their spirits. If they have a stadium out, it burns the spirits and bounces that to hand. And it shuts down any back row they haven't played that turn.
could be good. To me, it sounds like a better Helios Chariot ride.
Yeah, that's probably true. It the only difference I guess there would be that it can that Helios has the advantage of being a counter rune, so it could be on their turn too. So you could wait to see. But I guess you really want to not wait to see on Helios is because you want to pop it before they play anything.
Absolutely. I think if you increase the cost of that card to 3 and make it water specific and not generic, I think that's fine.
Well, I think the bounce everything in hand that I would like that to be an element specific card because in general I
Yeah.
want the good cards to be element specific and then just have like the okay, but you don't want to have a player be completely shut out of game stuff be generic. I feel like actually there's too much stuff that is already too generic in the game. Like I feel like PTA, Shield, um, let's see, what are the other ones that I'm like about? I'm glad Tsunami's
PTA
water.
Shield,
Can you
Gorgon's
imagine?
Gaze, Gorgon's Gaze.
Yeah, Gorgon's Gaze could just be an Earth card. I'm
Yeah,
turning you
Helios
to
Chariot
granite.
Ride shuts the opponent out of the game pretty hard. The only the counter argument for that is you don't want one color having all of the best control effects. Um, but you could divide them equally. It would just be a difficult thing to balance.
Yeah, I think you divide
At
it
least
equally.
this way.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh wise, you would give fire Ring of Destruction, but water wouldn't get Ring of Destruction. Water would get something like Zero Gravity. Instead of popping your card
Yeah,
and dealing damage, you're just changing their position, which can equal that, but it might also not equal a destruction effect. Or in other
yeah,
effect instances, you would rather have the Zero Gravity because you want to flip two things in defense instead of just one thing.
yeah. I like the fact that the three big removal PTA, Gorgon's Gaze, and Shield. I like that they're generic. But I agree that moving forward, they should not print any more generic removal because the generic removal is already so strong. You just don't want the meta to develop where you're like casting 24 of your 40 card deck to be generic removal runes. Like
Yeah,
you don't want that.
and I mean, set one is designed to be strong like that. But I want to feel like every card has a place, and the more generic good removal there is, the less cards that will have a place. Because you'll just play whichever ones are the
Absolutely.
best.
Absolutely. So I agree. Moving forward, I would not print any more generic removal because it's already so strong. There's already more than enough of it.
Okay, my last thing, and this one's really simple, but I feel like it's a really big one to see in set two, is make water, fire, and earth, and I guess ice equal to thunder and wind right now because the gulf is so big.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that one.
And I want Thunder and Wind to get new stuff too. But also it kind of feels like Thunder and Wind are going to win out harder than the other elements are if you just print everything in set if set 2 were designed in a vacuum and everything were equally strong, Thunder and Wind would also be the ones that get stronger the most because they have the best tutors, right?
Yeah, they're already ahead in the race.
Like but even if you just make a new like beater for each element, Wind has the best way to search beaters. If you make new divines, Thunder has the best way to search divines, and stadiums. It's like, so how are you gonna give stuff to the other elements that are gonna equal that?
Yeah, and also Thunder and Wind already have the best color specific control effects outside of like Earthquake and Tsunami.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the
Like,
issue. As an aggro player, the control meta of set one, um, it feels like a lot to break through. It feels like there just aren't the tools to be really what I think of as traditional aggro, like beater, hit. Okay, you popped a thing, but I got my value. Beater, hit. And I feel like Elestrals is a game where that should be a good thing to do, right? Because you to play the removal, you have to use your own spirits too.
yeah, what do you think about them adding um, more water Elestrals that can attack directly, and also split cost Elestrals that aren't 2 drops?
You mean like a one cost split or
Yeah,
like
they're
two
like
drops?
1 cost, but they could be like in MTG. They have split cost creatures that are black or white, like their Orzhov. So
Um,
like I saw what is it, Zephyrog, the wind water Elestral that can attack directly, but it's like a 4/2.
yeah, and it's an ascension, so 4/2s were low. I
Yeah,
I think they
I was
definitely
like that
need
could
to hone in more on two-colored Elestrals, because the more two-colored Elestrals there are, the more that there's reason to play the other decks. Like, we don't have a Fire Earth card right now. So it
absolutely.
feels like there's a lot less reason to play a Fire Earth deck than um, like a Wind Electric deck where you get Volt Tempest. Um,
Yeah, where's the fire earth meteor rune at? Like,
well, I mean, and there's just one set in, but like if we're talking about things we want for future sets, I mean that's really
yeah,
high up there. Is I feel like I want to see big deck variety, and if the things that are good are so far above the other things, you're not going to want to do the second, third best thing. Um, or if the top
absolutely.
three things are the best things to do by so much, you're not going to want to do the fourth and fifth thing. But I'm the kind of player, I want to play aggro, but I want to do like the fourth or fifth thing. So if aggro is the best deck, I'm also going to find like a worse aggro deck to play. Because I don't want to feel like I
Sure,
have a handicap because of the deck I'm playing.
absolutely. I agree. I think that goes along with what I was saying because what people will do, especially with the way spirit decks work, the fact that you can pull a spirit, like any particular spirit from your deck, which is a good mechanic. Um, it makes it to where whenever you want to run something from a specific color, you can choose to only pull the good thing, like the best part of that color, without using the rest of it. So a
Hmm.
lot of what makes blue unique, or what makes water Elestrals unique, you don't ever get to see because people are just they're just siding in three water spirits and two tsunamis and not using the rest of
Yeah.
water.
Like, do you even know what oh gosh, I don't even remember the name of the card because I haven't seen it in so long. The Oyster Elestral. Do you remember? Do you know what that card's effect is?
No, I have no idea.
It is
I've
the
never even seen it. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Tectorus or Volcaris of water, but it boosts its defense instead of attack.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I legitimately don't know.
Here, I'll send it to you real quick.
Yeah,
But
nah,
the fact that
I'm
that
just
card
pulling
is
at the
so
index.
bad that you don't know what it is, like, and like you said, you've been consuming as much content as you can.
Exactly,
But I
and for
totally
it to
get
be
why
so
you would have never
forgettable,
seen this card before because it's that bad.
yeah, if it's so forgettable that I can't remember it, even though there's only like 200 cards, not even 200, 129. No, wait. Yeah, 129 full cards in the game. If it's that forgettable, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, Oystress.
Can you tell me what Pandora's box does?
If they would search their deck, I think it's two spirits, and they cannot search their deck for the rest of the turn.
And
Oh God, there's another part.
yeah, and they send the top two cards of their deck to the underworld.
Oh, and they mill too.
Yeah, it's like some of the cards are just so forgettable, and that's a generic rune. That's not even a color specific one.
And there's a lot of tutoring in Elestrals, so you would think that that would be okay. But two
Yeah,
spirits to me
but
feels
it's
like too much to play that card for me.
absolutely. But the fact that it's generic and it's it's just so forgettable. Like you can tell me exactly what Boombat does. You can tell me exactly what Ash Rabbit does. You can tell me exactly what Pigus does.
Exile Force, Ponder, MST.
Yeah, you're talking about Oistress?
Yeah. Have you ever seen that card in your
Yeah.
life?
No, never.
Okay, that is in the water starter deck. So, uh, Thunder gets Toxian for their starter deck exclusive. Water gets that as their starter deck exclusive.
Wow. I'm an Oystress main moving forward, only playing Oystress on all my decks.
Yeah, the tournament that I'd be talking about. I guess we could talk about that real quick before we wrap up the video. But
Well, I do have a surprise for you
a
at the end whenever we're done
surprise.
talking about this.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
We could talk about tournament and then do the surprise. Um,
yeah.
but I'm talking about doing a tournament to do a giveaway. But it depends on how many people are interested. If not enough people are gonna sign up, then I'm not gonna bother with it. But it would be a pretty big giveaway. Um, and signups would be for about a week. There'd be open play for about 2 weeks, and then there'd be a single elimination bracket for another week. So it'd be about a month long. Um, there'd be first place would get this Pantera sheet behind me. Um, second place would probably get an art, and depending on um, how many people played, like if there were like 50 people that jumped in, I would also do like small money rewards. Um,
What would the buy-in for the tournament be?
it that kind of depends. I would gauge interest on price levels. Like I was thinking, lowest would be $5. $10 seems pretty reasonable for the value of the prize that you could win. Um, or if people really wanted cash prizes, we could go up to 15 or 20, and then the cash payout could be pretty high for like top eight or something.
Absolutely.
Especially if
So
a lot of people hop in on it.
yeah, absolutely. If you get 25 people at $5 buy-in, you could definitely afford to do some pretty decent cash prizes.
Yeah, but that's
Uh,
something that I'm going to be gauging interest for in the next couple of weeks. Maybe
so
even
my
next week.
surprise here is I went and asked a few of the more well-respected players in the community the same question you asked me for this video and
Okay.
got their takes on it.
Okay.
But yeah, I only asked them for one thing, their most desired thing for set two.
Okay. Did Johnny
Uh,
say more mohawk or more what's that hairstyle called?
no, no,
Um
no, 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 no. You already guessed wrong on Johnny.
more mullet,
Johnny's
more
number
mullet,
one.
more mullet.
No, no more mullet. Um, Johnny's number one thing. He at first he just said fire support, and I said that I really want a more specific answer if you'd be willing to give me one, and he did. He gave me a really good one. He said a more direct direction for fire. He says right now it feels like it does a little bit of everything, but it's
hmm
just a worse version of Wind Toolbox.
Oh man, he was right on the money where I was saying earlier.
Absolutely. Uh, the next person that answered was Jack Yomu. And he wanted a Dark Element teaser. He
Okay.
didn't say
Okay.
he wanted any cards. He didn't say he wanted anything like that. He said specifically a teaser for the Dark Element. So
I
I'm going to
think we
assume
have
that.
already had a teaser for that, which is a thing that looks like a purple eye or a spear, and
Well,
it has the word terror on it.
he wants another one. I guess that
Um,
wasn't good enough for him.
I feel like that is either a spirit that is a like a poison dart frog or something, and that's the eye, or I think that we are getting like mode changes, and that is like a new mode.
Could be. Um, the last person I asked, um, this is a buddy of mine. He's more casual, but his tag is Dragonfly in the Discord. I asked him, and him being a more like he understands the game very well, but he's a more casual player. He said, and I quote, "A snake Elestral would be cool," and that's all he said.
I agree. Give us something like Pyro.
He just wants a snake Elestral. So that that about sums up his opinion.
Okay, so I think we're ready to close out this video. First off, if you sat through, how long has this been? Oh, it doesn't tell me. Oh, it's been an hour and a half. So if you've sat through this, thank you for spending your time with me. I've been drawing most of this time. And Matt, you have had no idea what I've been drawing, but I've just been digitally drawing on top of the picture I sent you the other day. Um, and if you've been watching, you've probably already sent a comment if you're going to send a comment. But if you haven't, then tell us what you want in set two. Also, even if you have already sent a comment, feel free to put another one. Um, are you interested in a giveaway tournament for this sheet? Would you compete in it? What price range would you look at? Would you increase your price range if there were more prize support to not just the first spot? Um, yeah, and especially what do you want from set two? I think we'll be seeing stuff from set two soon. Um, but I'm really excited for set two. I think it's going to add so much, and I'm excited to see what ice is. I think my girlfriend has also liked the ice, so that might be her element. Um, anything you want to say, Matt, before we close out?
Be sure to share this video with people who are already interested in Elestrals and are already in this space. And if you disagree with anything we have to say, be extra sure to leave it in the comments because that's something that uh,
Oh yeah,
we enjoy hearing.
if you
Yeah, we disagree
disagree,
with
we will
a
have
lot.
we can open a debate board and like have a session with you and record that. We
Yeah, me and Bryson disagree with each other quite a lot, and we have like hour to hour and a half long conversations, quite unsimilar to the one that you just saw.
Yeah, I feel like
But
we agreed a lot just now, but I feel like it's there's a lot of known quantities for what we want for set two. And
absolutely,
I guess we'll close out the video here, but all hail Oistress. Oistress H.
oysters the best card.
Best card in Elestrals right here, actually. Like, Tsunami is so good with this. Come on, what are y'all doing? You got Poseidon, play Poseidon, Trident of
The best.
Poseidon, Galaxia, and Atlantis, and then Oistress is unstoppable.
What you do, the best part about Oystris is you can disenchant it to cast Tsunami.
That's sad because it's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna close the
Well, I'll talk
vid.
to you later.
Yeah, thanks, man. You have a good day. Bye.